Hello, everybody. Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa and a Natter. As we say in England, I am from England. And when we like to have a little chat, we call it a natter. And I always have it with a cup of tea, which is why we have the name Cuppa and a Natter. And I'm super excited to have Hank, Phillippi, Ryan join me this evening. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Boston is beautiful today, although it's been 105, but today it's very Bostonian with that Boston blue sky. It's been a good day and a good writing day as well.
I love it. I love it. Before we get started, I do want to just read your bio because it is fabulous. So I'm going to go ahead and read this.
Okay, let me welcome people. We have people. We
do. We do. But I want to read your bio.
Okay.
I think it's fabulous.
Hank
Phillippi Ryan is the USA Today's best-selling author of 13 psychological thrillers, winning the most prestigious awards in the genre: 5 Agathas, 4 Anthonys, and the coveted Mary Higgins Clark Award. She is also an on-air investigative reporter for Boston's WHDH-TV with 37 and dozen more journalism honors. Book critics call her a master of suspense, a superb and gifted storyteller. She's the only author to have won the Agatha in 4 categories: Best First, Best Novel, Best Short Story, and Best Non-Novel. Hank's 2020 novel is the chilling psychological standalone, The Thirst to Lie. Nominated for both the prestigious Anthony Award for Best Novel and Mary Higgins Clark Award, the Publishers Weekly Star Review says stellar. Ryan could win a 6th Agatha, and bestseller Sarah Picani says book clubs will gobble it up. Watch for Her Perfect Life on September the 14th, which received star reviews from Kirkus and Published Weekly, which calls it a superlative thriller. Fantastic.
Oh my goodness. When the star reviews from Publishers Weekly and Kirkus came through for Her Perfect Life, and what happens, you get an email from the editor, and sometimes it'll say review, and sometimes it'll say review with an exclamation mark, and sometimes it'll say review with 15 exclamation marks. And that's what happened with the Kirkus and Publishers Weekly stars for Her Perfect Life. It's just great. I mean, it's just, we sit here in this office. This is where I work. This is where my office is. This is, where 14 books have come out of this place now. And I'm by myself all the time. And so when I hear that from Sarah Pekkanen or the star reviews, I think, woo, okay, this.
You are such an inspiration.
Oh,
you really are.
Tina, you're the inspiration, but I thank you so much for the compliment. Look at all the people.
I know. We're going to say hi to a few people, and we're going to talk about the book that is coming up.
Good.
Which again is called The Perfect Life, Her Perfect Life.
Her Perfect Life. Oh, I'll show that to you again. No problem.
And I was just telling you that it's going to be coming out on my late mother's birthday, which I think is beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
And you told me her name was Iris. That is
Iris. Her name is Iris. But we have Karen. Everyone's saying hello to you, Hank. We have Karen, Bambi. I'm sure you know a lot of these people. Leisha, Diane Robinson, Sherry Barone, Bambi Rathman, Darlene Johnson, Alicia Haney, Jennifer, I know you, Jennifer Bowser. You know Jennifer?
Of course, definitely so. I mean, when I look over here, when I look over here, I'm looking at the comments. It's not that I'm looking just at my watch or anything. I'm looking to see who all is here. And see, Tina, this is such a testament to the community you've built, that people come to hear what you have to say. And I am so honored to be here today. And I'm just going crazy.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to you, Hank.
Someone says you came to my town library a few years ago in Randolph. You were wonderful. And Facebook user, if you put your name on your comment, then we'll be able to see who you are. I guess you haven't allowed StreamYard to use your
name. You have to give them permission, the blue link. If you're watching this on my office page, I can see your name because it's public. It's only if you're watching it in my group, because the group is private. And if you're watching from YouTube, then that's public too. It's just from the group. You need to click on the blue link. Now you mentioned that this is your 14th book that is coming out.
Yes.
You've written
That right, or is it 13? It might be the 13th one. Yes, it's the thank you, Tina. It's the 13th one because I'm writing book 14 right now.
You're writing, okay, and you're not. This one's
and book 15 is coming up. So
and I read somewhere, or maybe heard you in another interview, but you were 55 when you wrote your first book. What was the name of that book?
Prime Time.
Okay, I want you to, if you don't mind, tell us how that book came about. I listened to the story and I loved it. When you got the email.
Yep. Oh, sure.
I love the story.
It's interesting in so many ways because I did start writing when I was 55 years old, and that was 16 years ago. And I have to tell you that I grew up in really rural Indiana. And my sister and I used to ride our ponies to the library to get books. And I used to read Nancy Drew, of course, and Agatha Christie, of course, and Sherlock Holmes, of course, and we can talk about that. And as I learned about mysteries, I always wanted to be a mystery writer, but I think I really wanted to be a detective more. I thought it would be cooler to be Sherlock Holmes than write about Sherlock Holmes. But I always read mysteries and I always read suspense. So I became a television reporter, long story. But one day at Channel 7, I was in my office, just working as a reporter, Channel 7 in Boston. Some of you know it. And it was back in the day when spam filters weren't as good as they are now. Right. And today you don't get too much spam, but back then, whoa, you remember, you were inundated. So I would spend the first couple of minutes every morning just deleting the spam really fast. So one morning I opened the spam instead. I opened one that I should have deleted. And in it was what looked like lines from a Shakespearean play. I majored in Shakespeare in college and I knew it wasn't, but it was of that era. So I thought, that's so weird. Why would someone put lines from a Shakespearean era play in what's clearly a spam email? And the subject line of the email said, "A new refinancing deal for you." And I thought, that's crazy, because if anybody on earth would open it, they would be looking for a refinancing deal. And then they're not going to get that. They're going to get what looks like lines from a play, dialogue. Why would someone do that when millions of people could possibly open this? And it crossed my mind, and I don't know how to describe this, Tina, to you, other than to say my brain said to me, right, maybe it's a secret message. And I thought, secret messages in computer spam. Are you kidding me? That's a good story. And I'll tell you that I went home and I said to my husband, I have got a great idea for a mystery, secret messages in computer spam. This is great. I know how to do this. I said, honey, I'm going to write a book. And he says, great, sweetheart. He says, do you know how to, he was very supportive. He's lovely. But he said, do you know how to write a book? And I'm like, how hard can it be? Well, I've read a million of these books. And I will tell you that I was so naive and such a newbie, because if I had known, I've got to tell you, if I had known how hard it would be, I probably wouldn't have done it. Because I already had this big job, a big, important, responsible job where I could not make a mistake. And I was totally devoted to it, the biggest workaholic you'll ever meet. And so I really thought this would be fun. It would be fun and sort of fulfillment of a semi-dream. And it was, and you know what the thing that killed me about it was, though, the thing that really propelled me about it was, I just knew it was a good idea. I knew it was a good idea. And as a journalist, when we say to each other, oh, that's a heck of a story, that's a good story, that's the highest accolade, a good story. And I knew that I had come across a good story, and it wasn't a television story. It was fiction. It was a mystery. I knew it, and that's what propelled me.
And that was your debut novel, and it won awards.
It did. I'm looking to see if I have a copy of it right here. Of course not.
I just love the story, how you broke into writing. I heard that, and I just loved it.
Yeah, a couple things about that. Yes, it won the Agatha for Best First Novel.
Mm-hmm.
The only book I've ever written, I have nothing like in a drawer or put away or no tryouts. This was it. This was the beginning. But a couple things about that. Two things. One is, it wasn't like I hadn't written stories before. At that point, I'd been a television reporter for 30 years. And so every day I'd written a story with a beginning and an end, that had to be entertaining. It had to be new. It had to be enlightening. It had to be compelling. It had to be intelligent. It had to be educational. It had to be life-changing, and it had to be new. So I knew how to write a story. Right. I knew how to write a story, but I didn't know how to write 100,000 words. And I didn't know how to make stuff up. And we can talk about that, because that was unusual. But it also shows you that it is never too late to do something that you need to do, right? I'm the poster child for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I always say, if there's something you like, look at you. You have this huge, huge following on Facebook and on YouTube. And you did that. You're not 12. You've had other jobs, because we talked about it before. And you love this, and this is something you decided to do, and you did it, and you hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, how does that feel to you?
I love it. And we just don't give up.
Yeah.
My father always told me there's no such word as can't. And that's something I've just always lived by. It's something that just stuck in my head. And he says, if you really want to do something, just keep pushing yourself and just keep going at it.
Our parents must have known each other, because my mom, I remember so quickly. I remember so clearly in the middle of writing Primetime, at that moment when reality started to set in a little bit. And I called my mom, as we do if we're lucky. And I said, Mom, I love this book. I love Primetime, but I'm not quite sure that I can finish it. I'm just not quite sure I can finish it. And she said, and this is her quote, she said, well, sweetheart, you will if you want to. Right. And see, perfect. Yes, because I realized it's all about my compassion, my compulsion, my obsession, my passion, all those kinds of things. If I wanted to do it, I would do it. We all do that. Whatever we want to do,
right?
Do that. And if we don't, and I went on to think, if I don't do this, no one will care. No one will.
It's your choice. It's your choice. It's all about the passion. It's all about the passion. It really is. How long did it? Do you remember how long it took you to write that book?
I do. And luckily, again, for me, and Bamber, you saying moms are so wise. That is very, very true. I do remember how long it took, and I do remember the process very well, because at first I was just typing. I mean, an outline. I didn't do an outline. I don't need an outline. I don't have an outline for television. It's all fine. In television, I'm searching for the story. So that's what I realized I was doing as I was writing Primetime. I was searching for the story. So I was comfortable with that. I wasn't terrified of walking this tightrope. So I finished the book. I'm typing away. I'm so good. I get through the muddle in the middle, which I didn't recognize. That's where I was stuck. Went on, loved it. It was back in the day when I certainly didn't have a printer at home. That was not, printers were huge. And so I had it on a floppy disk. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
I know. I had it on a floppy disk, and I went to the Kinko's.
I remember Kinko's, yeah.
I went to the Kinko's and I said, could you print this for me? Could you print this for me? It's my novel. And the Kinko's guy says, sure, lady, okay, fine, go away. So a couple hours later, I came back to the Kinko's and I said, I'm here to pick up my printing. And he says, oh, you're the one with the novel. And I thought, oh, he read it. He read it and he loved it. He read it while he was printing it and he loves it. And now he knows I'm real. So he reached under the counter and picked up a ream box of paper, 500 sheets
in a box.
Ream box of paper. Gave me the box. I said, okay, thank you. And he says, no, wait. And he reaches under the table again and pulls out another ream box of paper. And my book was 723 pages long. It was, I talk about not knowing what you're doing. So my book was 723 pages long. So I had to cut 400 pages. And that was
the book.
Mm-hmm. And that was my education as a writer, because I realized what was derivative, what was repetitive, what was stupid, what was not funny, what was me showing off, what was not the story. And I took away 400 pages on my own, and what was left was the book. And that was that was so much fun. You know, people say, "Oh, we have to kill our darling words," and I think, no, they're not darlings if they're
No, you have to get rid of them.
right. You have to get rid of them, and then it's like, you know, it's like what Michelangelo supposedly said about, someone said, "How do you do your sculptures so beautifully?" And he said, "I just take away everything that isn't the statue."
That's not needed. Yeah.
And so that's what writing is for me too. I learned in that 400 pages to take out everything that isn't the book.
Yeah, my father was an author. And when he wrote the boxes, it reminded me of my dad. I mean, he wrote his first 3 books on a typewriter.
Oh, sure.
Which I could not even imagine.
Well, you know, I wrote my first stories on typewriters. There's no question about that. And you could see, if you would, I'm looking to see if I have a piece of paper. You could see all the whiteout on them, you know, without, I mean, some of you must know this. Some of you must know this.
Yeah, you put the white out on and then you type over it. Yeah.
Paint white gunk over it and then type over it. And the pages would crackle with the white, because whiteout was liquid and then it would dry. So my pages would crackle. I remember, forgive me if I'm going on about this, but the way I would edit my news stories, which I typed, the way I would edit would be I would type them and I'd have typed pages, and then I'd literally physically cut them apart with scissors and take out different paragraphs and switch them around and then tape them back together. And so talk about cut and paste. That's what I did. Physically cut and paste.
So 13 books later, this is your current book.
Yes.
This one right here, The First to Lie. I'm reading it right now.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm really enjoying it. Can you give us a little background to the book without giving much away?
Sure. And I'm welcoming more people here. CM Santoro, author, says, "Hello, ladies," and Peggy and Shannon Hansen, Shanson and Donna. Well, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
And if you have any questions for Hank, put them in the comments and we would definitely try and get to them.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yes, definitely.
So,
about
The First to Lie. Let me tell you a little bit about The First to Lie. First of all, you know this from experience, Tina. It is really hard to talk about a novel of suspense because you don't really want to tell the plot. So I learned that one way of talking about this book is to talk about the 4 words that describe the book, and that is motherhood, betrayal, and 3. Let's do 3. Okay. Motherhood, betrayal, and revenge. Motherhood, betrayal, and revenge. And that is what this is about. And then there was another thing on I think Facebook that said, describe your book in 5 phrases. So okay, I can do that.
Okay.
And that is, let me see, a devastating childhood betrayal, an undercover reporter who's in too deep, a beautiful sailboat on the Chesapeake Bay, a rich and powerful family, and an ice pick that is not used for ice. So bottom line, this is a twisty cat and mouse psychological thriller where 2 strong women face off in this psychological gaslight game to prove their truth about a childhood betrayal. But in this cat and mouse game, which person is the cat and which person is the mouse, and who will be the first to lie? And that is just about as much as I can tell you about.
Excellent. I mean, like I said, I'm really enjoying it, and I like that question. Describe your book in 5 sentences.
Yes, it's very difficult.
With my book, I've never even thought about doing that, and I'm going to do that. I'm trying.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because when I was asked to do it initially, I thought, oh, that'll be easy, you know, and then I started thinking, well, you know, and this is such a good question. You think, what is this really about? You know, what are the cool elements? What are the compelling elements?
Right.
What's going to be tantalizing about this book? And so the essence of it is a childhood betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
A devastating childhood betrayal. And where that comes from is, on one hand, the book is about the pharmaceutical industry and how powerful medicine is and how much medication we take when our doctors tell us to do it, when we
Right.
really don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen as a result of it, and how much that relies on trust. How many questions do we ask? Do we ask enough questions of our doctor? And pharmaceutical companies who are in it to make money, right? And what is the calculation that they make? What is the balance that they have between, what if there's a medication where a lot of people will be truly helped, and
Mm-hmm.
a couple of people, some few tiny number, but people will be tragically harmed. How do you balance what you do with that drug? So as a result of stories that I've worked on for Channel 7, that's a story that's a story that I wanted people to hear about. But as an author, and this, and all of you listening know this, is that a novel of suspense, a novel of psychological suspense, is about people, people who we care about. So that was the underpinning, that the pharmaceutical stuff is an underpinning to the story about real women
Mm-hmm.
who want to have children, and what happens when you're disappointed in that, and how much would you want to have a family, and what would you do if someone destroyed your family and knew they were doing it?
Wow.
Then what would you do? Now, yes, Tina, and now you go, wow. Now
Yeah.
you go, wow, because that makes the story about real people. And that is what The First to Lie is about Meg and Ellie and Lacey and Brooke, and what they want from their lives, and what they expected from their lives, and what they didn't get, and what that did to them. And who was the first to lie? When you finish the book, you'll realize who was the first to lie, and that will change your life.
I would definitely let you know. I mean, so far I'm enjoying it, so
Good.
I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I can't say enough about it. So I'm enjoying the read. What inspires you? I mean, you're an undercover investigator, reporter.
Yeah.
Does any of your books are inspired from that line of work?
What a good question. Thank you. Yes. I've wired myself with hidden cameras and gone undercover and in disguise and chased down criminals and confronted corrupt politicians.
You're
So,
living a book. You're living a story.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly,
You
kind
are.
of yes. Honestly, kind of yes. And so, as a result of that, I have had experiences that many people haven't had. I've been stalked and yelled at and threatened and pushed and frightened and all kinds of things, which that all, it would be silly if all that didn't go into the book. I mean, of course
Right.
it does. But there was oh, thank you, Beth. Beth is saying I loved her book. That is so nice of you. There was a very specific story that I did that inspired The First to Lie. And it isn't represented as fiction in The First to Lie, but it represents what I felt doing it. And that is, I'll tell you this very quickly. We were doing a story about how difficult it was for patients to find out the legal histories of their doctors,
Oh.
and the medical malpractice losses of their doctors. And if you wanted to find that out, if you wanted to see if the doctor you were going to had a history of, every doctor is sometimes threatened with or has a malpractice suit filed against him or her, because that's the cost of doing business, and it is human life at stake, and people are angry and sad and betrayed. So, but we wanted to find out what the legal history of certain doctors was and how to find that out. And we discovered that it was very difficult to find it out. You had to go to every single courthouse in every single county in Massachusetts to find out. And that's impossible. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we went to the Board of Registration in Medicine, which is where all doctors have to get their licenses, their state licenses.
Right.
And I said to the director of the Board of Registration in Medicine, if a person wants to find out what about a doctor's malpractice history, how would they do that? And she said to me, well, they should ask the doctor. The doctor will tell you. And I'm like, no, they won't. No, they won't. And so I said, do you think that makes any sense? And she said, frankly, I really don't. But that's how the law is right now. So we went undercover. I disguised myself as a woman who wanted to get pregnant with, you would not recognize me, with big glasses, my hair on top of my head, no makeup. You wouldn't recognize me at all. I put on like 3 sweatshirts and tried to make myself be like dowdy and nervous. And, you could act like someone who's a potential victim. And we went to doctors' offices and asked them I'm so sorry, the other half of the we was my producer at the time, Chris, a man who posed as my husband. So we went to various doctors' offices, doctors we had researched and who we knew had devastating series of malpractice losses. I mean, these doctors, you just wouldn't want to go to them. You just
wow.
So, but what the doctors didn't know was that under my sweatshirt and coming out through the top and in a place that looked like a cigarette burn was a hidden camera. So the lens is like the size of I think I had a work shirt over my sweatshirt.
Okay.
So the buttonhole of the work shirt was the lens of this hidden camera, which is called
like that.
Well, it's called button cam. I mean,
it
looks like a button.
Perfect.
Snaking down underneath my shirt and through a hole in the sweatshirt and out into my fanny pack, my glamorous fanny pack that I was wearing, was the camera. So everything that this doctor did was on camera. Now, not little known fact, but interesting fact is that in Massachusetts, you can't record someone's audio without permission. So I wasn't going to say, hi, can I record this? So we were just going on video. Okay. So at the end of this interview, where I was posing as the mom, the would-be mom, I said, "Oh, can I just ask you one little question? Have you ever had any malpractice suits filed against you?" Yes. I went, yes or no, because I needed him to indicate without saying anything, which it was. So he says, no. And I said, no, you've never had any malpractice suits? And he goes, no. And I said, okay, thanks. And that was just a lie. That was absolutely a flat out lie. And this happened over and over and over. And as a result of our story, the law was changed in Massachusetts. So now a doctor's malpractice record is public record, and it's in their record at the Board of Registration in Medicine. And in one phone call in Massachusetts, as a result of our story, you can find that out. That's one of the Emmys is for that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But so finally, here's the point. I know you're thinking like, so.
No. I love your stories. I love it. So keep.
But the point was, when it comes to the first to lie, and one of the things in the first to lie was those doctors had lied to me. Like they looked me in the face and lied to me because they wanted me to come sign on as their patient. They wanted me to pay them. They wanted the insurance company to pay them. They needed new clients. And so that was lying for a bad reason. That was a cover up. That was a lie for a bad reason. But, Tina, I was lying too, right? I wasn't a woman who was looking to get pregnant. I was an investigative reporter for Channel 7 trying to see if he would tell me the truth. And I realized that I was lying too, but for a good reason. And that was what one of the essences of this book is. When is it okay to lie if it's for good? When is that okay? If it's for the greater good, even more powerful. To lie for the greater good in order to make a change is what I did. But that was still lying.
But it's questioning the cause of the lie.
Yeah.
For good or bad. I love it.
And so my books have themes. They have themes. The themes of justice and truth, and what is truth, and what is justice, and what does that mean, and what is right, and who should benefit from a thing.
Mm-hmm. So I heard on another interview of yours. I love watching your interviews, by the way. So I follow you quite a bit. But you have mentioned, and I like this, that none of your books are gory, even though they are thrillers, they are mysteries. involve murders. Some, yeah, murders, right? Correct.
Yeah, sure. They all have murder.
No graphic sex.
No.
Your books just don't need it.
Thank you. You know the old saying of, don't. They say write the kind of book you love to read. Write the kind of book you love
Exactly.
to read.
Yeah.
And I just don't like reading graphic sex. I just skip it, frankly, you
Right.
all. And I don't like graphic violence. Again, I just skip it. I don't need to know every single
Gory detail.
story. I just don't. It doesn't add to me. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't add to the story. And I love Silence of the Lambs. I love Lisa Gardner. There are all kinds of books that I love, and I'm not saying I would never read books that are violent. Jigsaw Man, Nadine Matheson's Jigsaw Man, that is gory, and she just does it beautifully. But I just don't do it. And inappropriate language. Why? I just don't need it. And I'll tell you that one of the reasons for that is that as a television reporter, I'm often on live, and I can't say anything that you can't say on TV, right? I can't say that. So if something happens on live TV, if a light falls on me, or a cat leaps on me, or it starts to rain, or the church bells start ringing behind me, or there's a siren, or somebody hits me, or something terrible happens, I can't default to swearing. I can't have that just come out. So yeah, so I don't even want to have the opportunity to be surprised and then have to filter what I say, because by that time you've said it. So I just don't let the synapses in my brain say inappropriate words out loud. TV inappropriate is what I'm talking about. Inappropriate words out loud.
You have trained your brain.
I've trained my brain. I've trained my brain. Exactly. Oh, not the one. I've trained my brain. Before we get to your upcoming book, I do want to put up a few questions. Okay.
For you. Here's one from Jennifer. I know you know Jennifer. What book are you currently reading?
I just happen to have it right here. Jennifer.
When do you have time to read?
I love to. I couldn't not read. Yeah. So because of being the host of A Mighty Mystery on A Mighty Blaze every Tuesday at 4, which I hope you all come to on Facebook Live.
I'm sorry, next week?
Tomorrow, every week. Every Tuesday at 4, I joined the Mighty Blaze, which is this wonderful consortium of writers headed by Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, and it's sort of a writerly.
Why did I not know about this?
That's why I'm here. I'm bringing you all the news. So I'm the brand new host of A Mighty Mystery on A Mighty Blaze. So every Tuesday at 4 p.m. On A Mighty Blaze page, I interview a new author. I interview an author. And so for tomorrow, I'm interviewing Jonathan Santlo, who wrote The Last Mona Lisa.
Now, 4 p.m., is that Eastern time?
4 p.m. Eastern, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Okay, so that would be 7 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I'm behind you. 1 p.m.
Don't confuse me.
It's so confusing.
Easy to do. So, so The Last Mona Lisa is tomorrow. And then the next week on A Mighty Blaze is, do you know this book, The Family Plot by Megan Collins?
I've seen the cover. I love the cover.
Megan Collins will be there next Tuesday, and Jonathan Santlo for
great.
Tomorrow. And then Holly is reminding me of First Chapter Fun. So I read books for First Chapter Fun.
That's what Holly just said right here.
Exactly. That's what I'm responding to. I've been
to a few of those, and I really enjoy those.
And that's fun too. So that's the answer to what I'm reading right now. The world's longest answer is The Last Mona Lisa.
The Last Mona Lisa.
So it is really so, a Da Vinci Code page-turning adventure. So I highly recommend it.
Oh, great. Perfect. We have a lot of people here. I want to try and get to some of the questions. Here's a nice comment from Marina. I definitely want to read your book. It sounds amazing. And with your line of work, you know what you are talking about from personal experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Renee. And it's interesting because Her Perfect Life that Tina was talking about that comes out in September, no pressure, it's just my career. It's about that too. It's about fame and it's about celebrity and how vulnerable we all are in the spotlight. I've been on television in Boston for 35 years now, 5 years in Atlanta, 1 year in Indianapolis. And if I go to the grocery store, people know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really aware of, not going out with ratty hair, and I wear lipstick, and I'm very conscious that people will recognize me. But also, people recognize me, and they know when I'm leaving Channel 7, and they know when I'm on the air, and they know where I live maybe. And that's a very vulnerable thing. I love what I do, and I love my responsibility as a reporter, and I love being on the air and sharing stories. But so that's what Her Perfect Life is about, is about someone in the spotlight. She chose, Perfect Lily is her name, her hashtag that her fans gave her. She chose the spotlight, but her little daughter didn't. And what does this do for your family when you choose the spotlight, but you also
put everyone else? Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And thank you. Facebook user is saying, love the cover for your new book. I mean,
do you have a say in the covers?
Now that's a really good question, Tina. Yes and no. How about that for an answer?
That's a good one.
Every time you get a cover,
mm-hmm.
you get the email from your editor.
Right.
And it says, and the subject line says, your cover with an exclamation mark. That is publisher shorthand for you're going to like this. We are hoping that you're like, oh, your cover, not like cover, but yay, we're sending you a cover. So, you hover your mouse over that JPEG, and you know that in a minute you're going to know whether you have something that you love or whether you're going to have a problem. And so in some of my books, I've instantly loved the cover. I'm looking to see what's down here before. I'll show you one that I loved instantly, which is this one, Trust Me.
I love red on the cover. I love the way red just makes the book pop.
No, but look what it says.
Trust me.
See what this, I can't do. I think it's backwards, but right here it says L-I.
Oh, now I see it.
See, it says liar.
Yeah. Clever.
Isn't it? And now that you see this, you can't unsee it.
You can't miss it now.
Yeah. And now when I turn it right side up, which I can't because
you still see it.
Now you really see it. And see, it's cool, isn't it?
That's clever.
This cover, I've got to tell you, started out as, I don't even want to tell you what this started out as. And I just kept saying, no, 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 no.
What do you have to say?
So I do have a say. And when this one appeared in my mailbox, I just wrote back, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's slinky. It's classy. It's noticeable.
It has a hint of mystery to it too.
Look at her. And it says on the cover, all she has to do is keep one secret.
My first impression when I looked at the cover or saw the cover is I wanted to know more about her. That was my first instinct of the cover.
Good. And that's what, that's what people, you go into a bookstore, remember bookstores. You go into a bookstore and you look at those covers and don't you think, ooh, that looks good. That looks good. Mm-hmm. And that is this elusive magic of the book cover that we're going for. And I trust my publisher. I love them. Forge is just amazing in every way. And I trust that they know what they're doing about covers as well. So I don't say no. I say, oh gosh, that wouldn't be my favorite one. And then I just
be nice about it. I mean, they say never judge a book by a cover, but it's the selling feature of your book.
100%.
I mean, you're going to have a cover where someone's going to want to pick it up.
Yeah. And it makes sense.
You're going to have a good blurb. Those are the two main features for people to take the next step and buy the book.
Do you read the blurbs? I mean, I wonder too if people who are here. Thank you, Tina, who says.
Thank you. I want to read the blurb of your book coming up. The one that's coming up, Her Perfect Life.
Yes.
I like to read a blurb of one book, and that's the one that's coming up on September 14th. How can I forget?
Yeah.
But I have it right here in front of me.
Good.
So we're going to read this. Everyone knows Lily Atwood, and that may be her biggest problem. The beloved television reporter has it all. Fame, fortune, Emmys, an adorable 7-year-old daughter, and the hashtag her loving fans created, Perfect Lily. To keep it all, she has to do is protect one life-changing secret, her own. Lily has an anonymous source who feeds her story tips. But suddenly, the source begins telling Lily inside information about her own life. How does he or she know the truth? Lily understands that no one reveals a secret unless they have a reason. Now she's terrified someone is determined to destroy her world, and with it, everyone and everything she holds dear. How much will she risk to keep her perfect life? I'm intrigued.
Good. I love it. I
Do
love
you write the blurbs to your book too, or does your publisher do that?
It's also collaborative. My editor will
Okay.
send me an idea, and I send her an idea, and she writes something back, and I write something back, and we tweak and polish and twist, and then so I would say we definitely do that together.
Okay, and here's some comments from the reading. The whole part of the book draws me in, and Karen saying makes me want to read more.
Yay, Karen.
Yay, yay. And then Holly is saying intense. How long does it, I mean, this is, what do we say, 13th book?
Her perfect life is for
14, 13? I knew it was one of the two.
I know this, you all.
You have a book come out once a year.
Yes.
So you spend about a year. How much do you actually spend writing the first draft, second? Do you go through a lot of drafts before it's into editing?
You know, it's such an interesting question because I don't use an outline, so I don't know what's going to happen. So that's okay. So then you know the feeling. Great. I'm talking to a sister.
Yes, I totally get you, but go on.
So, and I wonder if this is true for you too. That's what gets me to the computer every day is I think, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next because it's always a surprise. So
I'm reading the book for the first time, just like the reader is.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely so. Mm-hmm. And so people say, wow, the end of your book, it really surprised me. I'm like, yeah, could you believe that? You know, who'd have thought that would happen? So I always surprise myself. And so when I'm writing, I try to just keep going forward, just forward, because I'll go back. If I have a good idea, I'll go back and fix it earlier, but then I just keep going forward. I have to do my 1,000 words a day because I have to be done. I mean, that's
the thing.
The key. I mean, I have a date that I have to send this to my editor, and that's in my contract. So, and I will not fail. So I have to keep going.
You discipline yourself.
You have to. You have to.
And I do the $1,000. I wish $1,000 a day. 1,000 words a day too. That is my discipline every day, and my day is not over until those $1,000 are written. I keep saying dollars. I've got money on the brain here. If I might write 200 words in the morning, go about my day, and then I come home, and I still have to write 800 more, then I don't go to bed until those 800 are written, and that's my discipline for me.
And I think it's interesting because what that does is instead of saying, oh, I have to write a book, that's very intimidating. You're thinking, I have to write 1,000 words. I can do that. And every day you succeed, you win. You win. So we're cutting this huge task into a doable thing. Mm-hmm. And then every day we succeed. And every day we think, oh, that was fun. I did a good job. And we're all little kids at heart. I did a good job. I gave myself a gold star, and I'm going to get another one tomorrow. And we keep going. And that's why.
Now, when you're sitting down and you're writing and you're in your world and you come to a block, they call it writer's block or a stump, do you fight it? Do you sit there at the computer and fight it, or do you walk away?
It depends on the day. Usually I fight it.
Okay.
Usually I fight it. I usually say, I'll look at this. I mean, I hope you writers will understand this so totally. Writers, I look at the computer and I think that is the worst sentence that anyone has ever written in the entire world, ever in the history of time. No one has ever written anything that bad, never. And then I say, yeah, it sure is bad. Now just write another bad sentence because I think writer's block is whatever that is fear.
Yeah.
It's fear. So I think, you know what? You're not scaring me with how bad this is because I understand editing and I can fix it later and I'm going to go on and it's not as bad as I thought and all those kinds of things that we tell each other. So I try to just persevere. And I'll say, okay, you can get up if you write 10 more words. 10 more words. Can you write 10 more words? And I think, yeah, I can write 10 words. Okay. So we trick ourselves into this, we trick ourselves into it. And then once you write 10 more words and 10 more words, and you think, oh, I got this. No, now I know. Now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I go through the book that way. My husband will tell you that there's not a book that's gone by where I haven't said at some point, I can't do this. I have no idea how I wrote my other books, but I can't do it anymore. I forgot how.
But you do.
Mhm.
But you do.
And my husband says, you always say that,
And your characters, and I know this from listening to you in previous interviews, but your characters do speak to you.
They do, if I'm lucky. It's not like, it's almost as if when I'm writing, I become the person that I'm writing about, the point of view character that I'm writing about. And I can feel my body take on the essence of that character. If I'm writing a good person, I have good posture, or the sinister person, and I know all writers do this too, is I'll think, what can this person do? Oh, and then I'll think, okay, she tapped her cheek. Okay, that's good. Or she scratched her head.
In the movement.
Yeah. So everything. So sometimes you'll see in my book all these. You'll notice now all of you who are here, which is so great to see you all. You'll think, oh, Hank just scratched her ear. Hank scratched her hand. And I'll practice and see. I'll see if you can do it. How would I if I have a mug in one hand.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Holmes Public Library in Halifax, Mass, I guess. If you could hold a cup in one hand, what could you do with the other hand? Or what would I do with this cup? I put it down. What does it sound like? What is it? All those kinds of things.
All the little details that we take for granted. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I even forgot what that question was, but so writer's block. So I don't.
Yeah, there we go.
Believe in that. I just don't. I think it's fear, and I think we just face it down and we say, yeah, I'm always afraid, but I've always done it, and I'm going to do it again.
And back to the day when your first debut novel came out, the amazing feeling that it was. Do you still get those shivers and goosebumps every time a book comes out? I'm sure you do.
Oh,
it's
sure.
An amazing feeling.
There's so many way stations along the way of the wonderful feelings. Having the good idea, the idea that is going to be a book, how that feels. That's great. It, you recognize it, getting through the first draft, having a wonderful, seeing the theme emerge in the second revision, when it's just like, here's the thing, here's the jewel. Seeing, when the advanced reader copy like this, when the advanced reader copy comes in, I think, oh, look at that. And I open the book and I start reading it, and then I forget that I wrote it. I just think I'm just reading the book, and then I think, wow,
I wrote this.
That's a thing. That's very interesting. And then when that box of books arrives, of course, or when I get when I get a starred review or a letter from a reader who says, I love this. Mm-hmm. Every single time you tell an author you love their book, I am telling you, you get your wings. I am not.
That never gets old.
No,
that never gets old.
That's the best.
I really do. Let me see. We got so many people here joining us this evening. Do you have, you've written 13, 14 books. Is there one that stands out that you really, really enjoyed? Or did it just get better and better every book you produce? Or is there one that just stands out?
I can tell you that it's interesting, and I'll tell this fast because I know we're running out of time, but my first book I loved because it was my first book. My second book, FaceTime, the second in the series, I love because, I could do it again. I don't have just one book in me. I could write another book.
Right.
The third book was like, oh, this is my job. I have a job writing books. And the fourth book, Drive Time, so this Primetime, FaceTime, Airtime, Drive Time. The fourth book, Drive Time, I thought, I have a power. I'm an author. This is, I know how to do this. That was short-lived, but okay. I know how to do this. And then my next book was The Other Woman, which is my first big multi-layered, multi-pointed view, big thriller novel. So that was new. Writing, I pushed myself to write multiple points of view and multiple timelines in The Other Woman. And that won the Mary Higgins Clark Award. So on and on for each book. Trust Me was my first standalone. And to have So I loved that I had this, I could write a standalone where it wasn't a series and you would never see these people again and anybody could die in a standalone, which is so fascinating. That was empowerment too. And every single standalone after that has been, can I write another unique, compelling, riveting, original page turner of a story? Can I do that? And so every one of, and I try to get better with every book, because that the anathema is, you don't want to have people say, well, her new one, she kind of mailed that in. It's got to be better, right? It's got to be better. And so that's what my goal is too, to have it be better. So I'm hoping that Her Perfect Life is the best book I ever wrote. But I know that The First to Lie was the best book I ever wrote at that time too.
And you write mainly standalones now, or do you still write some series? Mainly standalones?
Well, there's the Charlotte McNally series, that's the prime time, and then Jane Ryland series that began with The Other Woman. I have a contract. I'm under contract to write another Jane Ryland book whenever that happens.
How many books are in the series right now?
5.
5.
But so there's at least one more under contract. But my editor, when I had the idea for Trust Me, said, "Oh, do that." And then I kept giving her ideas for standalones, and they loved that. So I'm just going to do what seems to happen.
Do you have a preference, series or standalones, or you're fine with both?
No, I love them. And it's just such a different method of writing. In a series, you have your world, you have your characters, and it's just what adventures they'll go on. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about the challenge about writing a series, and you series readers will know this. Oh, look at the comments pouring in. Your series readers will know this, is that the suspense in a series cannot come from the mortality of the main character, because Jane Ryland is not going to die in book 5.
That's right, exactly. She's got to keep going
back in book 6. And so because of that, the suspense has to come from somewhere else. But in a standalone, anyone can die. Anyone can be good or bad, and anyone can change from bad to good or good to bad, and anybody can be.
You never know who it's going to be. I'm not sure if I can write a standalone. I start writing a standalone, but then I ended up adding books to it.
Well,
both my series, book 1 was supposed to be a standalone, and I ended up adding 2 of them.
I think the thing that makes it a standalone is that this is the most important thing that could ever happen in this character's life, ever. Nothing else like this will ever happen to them, ever, ever, ever. This is a life-changing, pivotal, life-changing, pivotal moment. And there'll never be another thing like that. And so it isn't a person who is a detective on the lookout for a story, or an amateur sleuth, or a reporter, or an investigator of some kind. It's just a regular person in a situation in which they'll never be again. And I think that's what makes it stand out.
That sums it up. That's a really good way of summarizing it. We are getting close to out of time here. I could talk to you all night, but I did want to mention that you are generous and doing a giveaway.
Yes.
So Hank is going to be giving away. Is it going to be signed? Will it be signed, Hank?
It'll be a signed first edition. Well, I think I have some of a signed first edition of The First to Lie. It's got to be U.S. only, because
shipping is horrendous.
It costs more to send a book to Canada than it does to buy the book in a store.
Do you want to pick a winner? Or do you want me to pick a winner? Because
I couldn't possibly pick a winner.
Okay, I'll do it in a couple of hours. If you don't mind, I'll send you an invite to my readers group, and then I can tag you for when the winner is announced.
That's perfect.
And also what I like to do is that I don't have a box with me, but being my Cuppa A Natter, and I always have a cup of tea. One viewer is going to get a box of English tea bags, which I give away at every chat. And then also a $5 Amazon gift card. In order to be in that drawing, you need to share this interview with Hank from my author page.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so tag me if you share this interview from my author page. You can't share from the group because it's private. And you'll be in the drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card.
Yay, thank you.
Yes, and I will be putting this.
So nice of you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it gets the word out for the authors and myself and the chat. So, something I like to do for the readers too. But Hank, this has been fantastic. I could talk to you for another hour. I really could. You're an amazing lady. I love the achievements you've done. You're such an inspiration. And anytime you want to come back with the next book and the next book and the next book, please do.
I will bring my tea. I will be completely here. I'm so honored and thrilled to see so many people here tonight, new friends and old friends. I'm incredibly grateful for you all. You know, we wouldn't be here without you, and there's not a day that goes by that I just don't feel happy and blessed that all of you are with us here tonight. So thank you, Jean, so much for inviting me. I'll be back whenever you say.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Hank. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but thank you so much. And thank you, Hank.
I'll come to your Facebook page and answer them, right? They'll be there.
And also in my group, because it's Studios in the group and the author page. So I'll send you an invite and you can see it in the group too.
And then I'll answer the questions in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.